Right hand and.
All right, so what we're gonna do,
sworn in.
if you don't mind if I can handle
Oh,
this,
please
because I do this will be probably the sixth time this month I've
This is
been
my
involved.
first conditional use hearing, so.
This will be my sixth this month. All right, at this point in time, anyone who's gonna ask a question or have anything to state, I ask you all to stand, please raise your right hand and be sworn in. That includes you, Mr. Ham? That includes you, TJ? No. All right, anyone who's gonna, okay, TJ, would you stand? Anybody else here have any questions or comments or things they can ask? Let's just do this. Everybody in the audience, please stand and be sworn in. That way I don't have to worry about something. All right, go ahead.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Only the truth.
At this point in time, is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Question, comments on the motion?
John's either seconded.
Question, comments on the motion? How do you vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so at this point in time, I usually run the meetings. Kim will tell you the same thing. So at this point in time, Mr. Ham, could you state your full name, your current, occupation, and who you represent?
Chris Ham with KDH Consulting Engineers. We are the civil site designer for Braun Holdings Mineral Beach LLC on the Mineral Beach project.
So you'll be the only person testifying on behalf of the applicant?
Yes.
All right. Before we
Put
go
that
any
speaker
further,
by out a little bit so we can hear you. There you go, thank you.
You're
all
welcome.
right, before we go any further, I gave you, for all folks, you all have a list of exhibits in front of you. The first exhibit, the first exhibit will be the conditional use application. That will be, you wanna do letters or you wanna do numbers, Kim?
Whatever you want to do.
Your call.
Letters.
The next one will be, exhibit B will be an October 21st letter from KDH Consulting Engineers. Exhibit C will be a letter from Banks and Engineers dated October 8th, 2024. The next exhibit will be, this will be D, I believe. This will be a letter dated August 14th, 2024 from Bankson. Exhibit E will be a letter dated July 10th, 2024 from Bankson. Exhibit F will be another letter from Bankson dated April 26th. Exhibit G will be a letter April 23rd, 2024 from CEC. Exhibit H will be a letter from Banks Engineers dated April 9th. Exhibit I will be a letter dated March 22nd, 2024 from Bankson. Exhibit J will be the certified mail receipts for this process. Exhibit K will be the zoning report authored by McMillan Engineers. I don't believe it's dated, but I did receive it in today's email. And lastly, I don't have it with me. Exhibit L would be the proof of publication for today's proceeding. Is there a motion to put all those exhibits A through L into evidence?
I'll make a motion to put all those exhibits into evidence. Second?
Second.
Suzanne Damon, second. Any questions on the motion? Roll call?
Aye.
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 Carl?
Aye.
Okay, it's your show, Mr. Ham.
Good afternoon. Like I mentioned, my name is Chris Ham with KDH Consulting Engineers. We are here presenting the conditional use for the PRD master plan for the Mineral Beach project. I'm sure as everyone aware, this has been here for, well, we've been on it for 6 years, so it has been here a while. Mineral Beach project is 113 proposed lot, single family home subdivision. The purpose of tonight's meeting is just for the PRD master approval. We will be back for final land development approval at a later time if the PRD conditional use is granted. The main purpose of this, the PRD plan, is to set the requirements for the PRD within the plan itself. For example, we're requesting a 20-foot front yard setback, a 7.5-foot side yard setback, and a 20-foot rear yard setback, compared to what the ordinance states for the underlying zoning. Most of these are items I believe were previously approved prior to most of us getting involved in this, so this is really trying to clean up some things and making sure everything is in line and everything is approved properly before we start construction. The plan really has not changed much at all in the last 6 years as far as the layout. The main entrance is off of Waterlong Road, which I believe we've finally gotten to a point with all parties involved, hopefully, that we're pretty much there establishing who owns it, hopefully being able to grant that and turn that entire road over to the township to become a township road for township maintenance. That is our main entrance. We will have an emergency access off of Beach Road, Beach Lane, that comes near the existing Beach House restaurant. The project will be developed in 2 phases, roughly about 75 lots in the first phase and the remainder going into the second phase. Sewage planning has been approved for phase 1. The plans have been reviewed by the sewage authority and approved. Water line plans have been conditionally approved based upon the remainder of our land development approvals. And that, I'm going to wrap up my presentation because, like I said, I believe everyone's pretty much seen things, and I will take any questions or.
All right, so what we always do is I will ask the board to go first and have questions. Mr. Spear, do you have any questions?
I've inquired about a PennDOT traffic study, because the congestion on that 88 with,
There was-
Swayze, you
Wait.
guys.
One at a time.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Oh, sorry.
You're good. She has to do this no
Sorry.
longer.
There was a traffic study done whenever this was originally proposed, probably 4 years ago, and that will be the traffic study we're using for 88.
Mhm.
That'd be 2020, correct? think that's
I
what it
believe
says
that
in
would be
your
the date that
document.
was in, yeah, I'd have to double check.
The conditions are changed considerably since 2020, have they not?
If PennDOT deems that they wanna see a new one, we will update it. We have started the PennDOT HOP process for the intersection of 88 and Waterlong Road. So we're waiting for comments back from PennDOT.
Should we wait till that's done before we do this conditional approval? It's just part of the I'm new to the game.
I can let Solicitor Maple speak, but the PRD grants the right for the plan. It does not actually grant us any approvals to build the plan.
Okay.
If the PRD is approved, then we do have to come back and get full land development and subdivision approval from you guys.
Fair enough.
And if I misspoke, please.
No, he's good. It's a good question by Mr. Spears. It's a question I already have. Go ahead. Any other questions, Mr. Spears?
No, that seems to be my biggest issue because of the congestion on there now.
Okay, Ms. Dupree?
I had a question about fire flow, water pressure. I heard you say that you were waiting on approvals, but I know that you're pretty high up there. There's been issues with fire flow.
PA American did not indicate any issues on any of our plans as far as any concerns on fire flow.
What is the recommended fire flow for hydrants?
Off the top of my head, I do not know, but like I mentioned, we did.
I know that there was an issue with the plant across the street from you. I know that the Shire has a water tower because of the hill and.
That was one of the. I'm
Wait a
sorry.
minute,
One at a time.
if you guys talk over each other, that you're gonna have dashes all through your transcript and it's gonna be hard to read. Thank you.
Otherwise, she's also gonna throw something at you too.
That was a question that was brought up during the development talks with PA American. We did provide our highest elevations of the plan. They did not seem to have any concerns for fire flow or pressure in the houses.
TJ, you have a comment?
Yeah, I can address your question there, Michelle. There's a letter from August 13th of 2024 from the water company that says that they did look into the pressure and the fire flow. The development will have a PSI of somewhere between 103 and 108 PSI at the highest ground elevation, which is 1152, and 141 PSI to 146 PSI at the lowest proposed ground elevation. They ran their model for the development and they said that they expect 1,500 gallons per minute of fire flow at the proposed hydrants while maintaining a static pressure of 20 PSI. And then they also wrote a letter in December of 2024 that they had reviewed Chris's water line drawings and they deemed them adequate. So I think they've addressed that. fire flow concern.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
All the questions I have for myself.
TJ, that letter you're referring to, you have an extra copy of that?
Yes,
Let's make that exhibit, is that the letter you're looking at?
This is the letter, could you hand it at the same time?
You have an unmarked letter?
Yeah.
We'll make that exhibit M. So is there a motion to place that letter, August 13th, 2024, from PAWC to Chris Ham as exhibit M? Need a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. TJ, can you hand a copy of that over to the stenographer
yes,
right now?
whenever she's ready.
Any other questions, Michelle? Mr.
Not at
Free?
this time, no.
Suzanne? Mr. Hanford, any questions?
Yes. I noticed you have 7 retention ponds.
7.
How many?
One, sir.
Just one retention? If you have an inch or 2-inch rain in a 24-hour period, will that pond handle it?
Yes, sir. The entire stormwater management system has been reviewed by the previous engineer, Langston Engineers, and Washington County Conservation District for adequacy, and has been approved by all 3.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Hanford?
No.
Mr. Sauter, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
And one thing actually, you talked, low, so if you can talk a little higher, if you don't mind. I apologize.
Okay, I have a couple questions. First question deals with the 2 entrances and exits. Okay, so the one going up is Waterlong Road, and the other one coming down is Beach Road.
Yes.
Is that the, I'm gonna screw up the term, easement that goes all the way up to the communications tower?
If this plan is approved, the easement to the communications tower will be terminated
Right.
and realigned through the site, coming off of Waterlong Road, a little bit farther up the hill from our entrance. We'll be still using a portion of the easement to get for our emergency access through Beach Road through that easement. But the easement going to the tower will no longer come through the plan, it will actually come off of Waterlong Road. If you're familiar with the site, there's actually kind of a quad trail there now that gets up to it. We'll be widening that out for the cell phone tower to get up to their tower.
Okay, but your emergency exit will go from up there, and it will come down and connect with Beach Road, Beach Road to 88.
Yes, there's a cul-de-sac basically right at the stream on our side, on the development side. And I think we're still working out exactly how to either block that off. What we've done in the past is put up a gate with a knock box. So usually it's a couple members of the HOA have keys to the box, and then your fire departments, your police departments and everything have that. So you can lock the gate so it's not used as an actual access unless it is needed because of something going on.
You're reading my mind. Okay, my next question dealt with who has access to the emergency exit. And as I would think, it would be the 2 fire departments, the police department, possibly emergency ambulance services.
We would provide keys, the HOA would have keys, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And then we would provide keys to the township on however many they want to distribute to whoever they feel needs to have access to that
And
for
that'll be a
emergency
physical
services.
key, or will it be a card, or?
Usually they're physical keys. Physical keys tend to, to be honest, fail less. And especially in that area, then you don't have to worry about power.
Regarding Waterlong Road, there's been some confusion over who owns what and all that at the bottom. Now, my understanding is that has been totally ironed out at this point in time.
That is my understanding.
Okay.
It's, the main thing was ownership. This lawsuit began when it involved along the road. It was our belief that basically the larger portion, what's the side road called?
Bloxham Lane.
From Bloxham Lane up to the church, it's owned, I believe, by the Long Brothers.
Yes, sir.
Are you both here tonight? Who's the Long Brothers? We have any Long Brothers here tonight? Okay, they're not here. There was an issue and we determined that's the reason why the lawsuit was filed, because there was an issue about ownership of that road. And then from Bloxham Lane, how do you say that?
Bloxham.
Bloxom Lane to 88. That was actually part of a eminent domain situation with the federal government, because they had a Nike site at the top of the hill, I believe, at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we determined when this thing first began that the whole process was, when it was first set forth, was wrong. But I think right now, TJ, I think in terms of the public road from refresh my recollection, from 88 to Bloxham Lane, it's public road at this stage, I think.
Well, from my understanding, the applicant, the developer has hired outside counsel
They
to
have?
research the chain of title. And as part of that, I'm certainly not an expert in that field, so I'm gonna not expound upon that too much. But what was done last fall and spilled over into the beginning of this year was a separate lot line revision to establish the Walter Long Road dedication area, which essentially sets forth between the developer and the two property owners who own those lots there, since there's agreements in place. That subdivision, that lot line revision, set forth the road dedication area, which proves the developer's legal interest to do what they're proposing to do in terms of improvements to the road. And that that road dedication area, like you're saying, Dennis, begins at the right of way for Route 88 and goes all the way up beyond the access to the development in question.
It's somewhere down the road, and I guess we're still early in the process. The developer, once they complete the process about the road, they're going to have to dedicate that by a deed to the township.
Right.
And then basically, once they do that by deed of dedication, then we go through the process of, and I'm doing this somewhere else right now, we'd have to go through the ordinance process and filing paperwork with the Court of Common Pleas. So they're in if we grant this thing will be all put together.
It's a very similar situation to what we dealt with Hidden Hollow Road, with the Scarmazzi plan of lots on the other side. So.
And you're reading my mind too. And my next question dealt with the culvert itself.
The bridge.
There's
Okay.
supposed to be, will you be doing the rehab work on the little bridge there, culvert bridge, to meet whatever standards we have in place, or will the developer be providing township, I guess, the funding to take care of that?
My understanding is, as part of the building, and if I misspeak, because I know this kind of went to the developers agreement, my understanding is part of every building permit issuance, there will be an additional fee paid into an escrow account for future maintenance of that culvert.
That's what we talked about. And so, we're here today is a conditional use pursuant to your ordinance. And this is basically, and again, we look at the ordinance, that you have to go through this process, but the next step's going to be somewhere down the road, you have to come with land development plans to the township. And what we want to do is we're going to have a developer's agreement. And one thing that Mr. Spear, you're bringing up, is there's no point in the township being responsible for the cost of the entryway, because I'm dealing with this situation in South Strabane Township where we have, what's it called, Racetrack Road?
Yep.
Racetrack Road, we have that development there. And I'm very concerned, and I keep telling the developer, we're not gonna take over that lane until we have an agreement. And I don't want the same thing to happen here, because there may be in a situation where you have to have an improvement. You may have to have traffic lights put in. Traffic lights are expensive. In place, you have to maintain those. Plus, if there's any improvements in terms of widening the road, I don't want the township to be responsible. That's gonna be the developer situation. And when we do the conditional use, if you grant the conditional use, the situation about the HOP and the cost of these roads, all these things you're bringing up right now, which are good concerns, will say basically the township is not gonna assume responsibility for those costs, which I don't think the taxpayers will want, am I correct? So, okay?
I have one more
Sure.
question. And I don't know if it would be in this hearing or otherwise, and maybe TJ can answer me. The grading on the Harpoon Industries, has that easement been secured there? I know that there was grading on the property, Harpoon Industries.
Harpoon, at that entranceway there, it's actually a 50-foot right of way now. Harpoon Industries, actually, the way their parking lot, it encroaches onto Waterlong Road's right of way. So we're going to just sort of blend into theirs, but there's actually no grading proposed on Harpoon Industry property.
The part of the property I was talking to was further back by the creek area.
I think we
Behind their
pulled,
building.
I think we pulled everything back in within
Okay.
areas that we control.
Yeah, it's an ever evolving thing, so I didn't know where we were at with that part.
Yeah, and anything that we controlled near the culvert, I think, if I remember correctly, we tried to grant some extra easements for future work if anything needs done there as much as possible, if we control the property.
If I may ask TJ a question, TJ, this was an issue before, and I guess that you've been more involved, you've been quite involved in this process, and I think the question asked by Ms. Shell is a good question. Is there an issue regarding grading on Harpoon Industries?
There was
Yes.
originally, yes. Like Chris has indicated, there's been a number of revisions to his plan drawings and certainly changes made through that lot line revision process that I spoke about earlier. But on and Chris just provided me with the latest and greatest in terms of the drawings here.
And when did you receive those documents?
They were delivered today. The latest revision date on there is August 21st, 2024. So I think it's the same set that I have, but Chris just provided extra
extra
copies
copy.
here.
Okay.
We did look at that situation, Dennis, and verified that the limits of their grading, their proposed contours are within their road dedication area, within their property that they have right to. So I believe that's been addressed.
Any other questions, any of the board members? Go ahead, Mr. Sonic.
Our zone, Tammy from McMillan, provided a letter here which has 6 questions in it.
That's part of the exhibits, which has been admitted.
Those are enough.
Okay.
Already-
If you want to ask these questions right now, you're fine, you're welcome to do that.
Well, the first question is, has the school district been made aware of the development to be prepared for transportation needs in the development? Township will notify the district under the MPC regulations. However, has there been discussion with the transportation director and superintendent? Will the bus pick up students at an individual house, or will there be one location? What is required if it's one location? Waterlong Road is a private roadway. Will school buses be able to access within the development, pick up and drop off students? Will the proposed roads be adopted by the township, which assume roadways will be, which assume roadways will be adopted, given more than 3 lots are accessing from each? And so what happens with Waterlong, or will it be adopted by the township? We want to talk that out. Does the development require another means of access? Because there are more than 40 lots proposed as per section 242-70 of the subdivision and land development ordinance. There are several modifications of the zoning regulations requested on the overall layout plan, which I believe you mentioned. Is this a function of the zoning hearing board, or does the board of supervisors have authority, given it is a conditional use as a PRD? Is there a reason why none of the 3 impact studies were submitted as part of the application?
Did you get a copy of her?
I have not seen it, but I can answer, first, as far as the school district.
One second, let me do this. I have an extra copy here, I think.
I actually have an extra
Why don't you give him that?
Thank you.
And just for the record, we all got this sometime this afternoon, I believe. So I think the questions being asked by Mr. Seiler are at the bottom of that first page.
Yeah,
Paragraph
on the
one.
last page.
We have not brought up any discussion with the school districts, we typically do not. It's just not usually something in our normal process. So that would answer one.
Well, the first paragraph, 1A, talks about, I'm assuming it talks about bus stops and so forth. I believe the bus stop situation is controlled both by the second-class township code and also by the school district. There's a procedure that you follow through. So that's something that would happen later on.
Yeah, and the cul-de-sacs are all designed, to accommodate, I believe, one of the larger fire trucks, so I don't think the buses would have an issue with maneuvering through the cul-de-sacs. I know, I can't remember quite where the question was, is the bus gonna stop at individual houses? I can't imagine there's any chance in that. They stop now at intersections, and a lot of plans now, they don't even come into the plan.
Is there enough, the cul-de-sacs, they do meet the state liquid fuels regulations about width, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And is there enough room for a fire truck to go through that cul-de-sac?
The paving radius is proposed to be 80 feet, which is the township standard specification.
So a fire truck should be able to turn around in there, so.
I would expect so, yes.
Waterlong Road, I think we addressed,
We addressed that already.
the second entrance, Beach Road. Number 5, we are requesting several modifications, which is typical of the PRD, which I believe the board has the right to grant those modifications under the PRD, regulations per the ordinance.
That is the zoning board.
This board. Yeah. And as far as the impact studies, I know they've been submitted to the township multiple times. I'm not sure if they've made it again to here, but we can more than happily provide all the traffic impact.
When was the last traffic impact study done? Do you recall?
Yeah. Let me get my notes down. All right, so the, excuse me, the traffic impact study is dated January 6th, 2020. Excuse me. And there was a letter prepared by civil and environmental consultants. Dennis, I think this got entered into the list of exhibits.
Right, so that's,
It's dated April 23rd, 2024, which is the summary of results of the trip generation comparison. Basically, this letter is the applicant has updated their calculations for traffic impacts for their development for the difference between 104 houses and 112 houses. Originally in 2020, when they first did the traffic impact study, it was for 104 houses. Now they're proposing, what'd you say, Chris, 113?
13.
So this letter, April 23rd, 2024, which is in the exhibits, is an update of the traffic trip generation count. So,
so we do
that's
have
about
some-
all I know about the status of the traffic study.
Does the traffic study change with, the amount of different things that have been built in that stretch since the original traffic study, or does it just address the change in houses within the development? There's nothing that changed as far as how the traffic may have increased in those few years already?
Well, typically the traffic study would analyze not just the development in question, but also the surrounding areas. And that's usually identified as part of a traffic impact or traffic scoping meeting with PennDOT, especially if PennDOT's involved. And certainly PennDOT will review the traffic impact study from 2020 and this update from last April when they review the highway occupancy permit application, which will sounds like will soon be submitted.
Mhm.
And certainly because it's a PennDOT roadway there that we're intersecting with at Walter Long Road, PennDOT would have the final say as to the adequacy of the traffic impact study, and they may want, since there has been considerable development there since 2020, they may want an updated traffic study. We can't really answer that at this point, I don't think, Chris, unless, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, if I'm correct, TJ, we had some, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Barrett.
What if we want one, is Union Township to do a new PennDOT traffic study on Route 88 from the beach house all the way down past the greenhouse? Because all CEC's evaluation was the increase from 104 to 113, which is negligible.
Right, and that's what they say in their letter, I agree with you, yeah.
I think that's a potential problem unless a PennDOT study comes in and reviews it from A to Z, so we understand what the hell we're doing there.
If I can interject, if I remember, we had some initial discussions when we found out that there's a problem with ownership of Walter Long Road. And I believe we had some discussions with representatives of PennDOT. I think Stephanie Whitlatch was one or whatever, but my recollection was there may be a need to have a traffic impact study based upon the change in the nature of that whole study itself. So, in fact, that was my understanding that she was recommending at that point in time. So we may need to have that traffic impact, because I don't want the township to be responsible for any improvements.
Absolutely.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, sorry, Chris,
No, you're good.
that, there's a new business across the street from Walter Long Road now, and there's a housing development off of Hidden Hollow Road, the Scarmazy Highland Village plan of lots, which is 2 phases, and I believe 100 and some houses. There's 21 quads, so that's 84 units right there, plus 17 single-family houses. There's 101 dwelling units in the Scarmazy plan of lots, which have been, those were approved at some point in 2020 and built in 2021 and are still being built now. So I think there needs to be some recognition by the township as part of this conditional use and land development that traffic is a concern on Route 88, and there's been significant changes to the traffic flows even since the original study was prepared by the applicant in 2020. So I think that needs to be recognized.
Why can't we just require it?
I think that's something we should require in the face of the thing. So I would think it needs to be a traffic impact.
I think it's gotta
And
be
Mr.
part of
Hammond
the
agrees
deal.
also, correct, Mr. Hammond?
If that's, I'd have to double check with Mr. Braun, but.
Sure.
Mr. Braun?
I think it's an important requirement.
You have the car wash approval too,
Like I said, when we talked to PennDOT initially, Mr. Spear, they recommended that about the problem in traffic, back, the difference between then and now.
Yeah, Dennis, I'm all for the development, hey, they can put 2,000 homes in there, I don't care. But we've gotta maintain that our responsibilities to everybody else that doesn't live there. The place needs a traffic study, the beach house gets crowded, there's Weber has some,
Car wash?
whatever the hell they're gonna do down there, so that's where I'm coming from.
Now, would that be a condition of the conditional use, or is that more of a?
Well, we have,
development?
if I'm correct, well, first of all, you made an application. You're an RD district, correct?
Mhm.
So, based upon the zoning ordinance, you made an application for conditional use pursuant to section 280-13, I believe, B, conditional use, and then we refer to planned residential uses, PRDs, and I believe that's section 280.90. So, I think we have some ability to make certain requirements underneath the conditional use, and I think that's going to be one of them, okay? But are you done asking questions, Mr. Pree? Yeah, I have if I may ask a couple questions.
Go ahead.
I know we currently have a development in another town, South Sabine Township, where we have one entrance in. And the board decided to grant them the ability to have an emergency, access or whatever. Well, what happened over there is they allow the emergency access, but now there's some concern about the ability of emergency vehicles accessing that second emergency access. Is there an issue we have with this situation with, in this situation, it's too tight and too much of an elevation.
I
in
don't,
South Strabane Township.
I don't believe there's any issue with the actual access to that point. It's relatively flat. It's a straight shot, so there's no hard turns of any vehicle getting in or out of that point. And it's located at the end of the cul-de-sac, so it does have a good bit of room just in general there.
Okay, do you understand basically that if the board decides, we have, I think, 60 days from today to make it, we can give approval, there's gonna be an issue concerning replenishing the escrow account, because I understand the escrow account is maybe in a negative, I think, I don't know, but that's gonna have to be brought up to snuff. Do you understand that?
I will let Mr. Braun know.
And you also understand basically the township has concern with the HOP coming off of Route 88. Do you understand that?
I do.
Yes,
I have one other question, if I may.
sure.
So one of your neighbors up there is the church,
Yes, sir.
and I foresee times in the year when you have a lot of people trying to get out Waterloo Road, and times during the day, people are trying to get out of the church parking lots where you could have tie-up, big one. Have you thought about putting anything there, maybe a simple light or something that could be activated during those times when the church is having an event to kind of control traffic?
As far as a light where? On Waterlong or on 88?
On Waterloo.
It's something we could definitely look at. I think a lot of times where the church events probably won't overlap the heavy trip counts for, hopefully. But that's something I think we can discuss. But with that, any light that we put there, our hopes would also be, would have to discuss it with the township, because at the end of the day, our hopes is to turn the road over to the township, so that the township would have to approve any traffic control device that, you know, we hope to put on what will eventually be one of their roads.
But in that situation, the traffic control device, you know, they cost a lot of money. They cost a lot to maintain. So there's gonna have to be, we're gonna have to do something like they did on racetrack roads with, what is that called, Tanger outlets?
Yeah.
There's gonna have to be similar type of agreement with Tanger outlets in that area up there, because, you know, it's costly.
And I'm just envisioning people trying to get out of the plan, people trying to get out of the church, they're all going down Waterloo Road, it's now backed up.
Understood. Like I said, I don't really foresee an issue.
Every
The
Sunday.
majority of the trips on a development like this are usually Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Weekend mornings are actually kind of low on the number of trips usually coming in and out, but I can definitely pass your concern on to the developer.
Also, we don't want to, we have the pastor here from the church, I believe, don't we? Or we don't? We have two of them, so we have to make sure, I didn't want those people to have an issue either, but let's go back to that easement situation, that emergency right of way. Is there, what type, do we have, is there a document, like an easement or anything, a record? DJ?
Not at this point, Dennis, no. And that is one of my comments in this, October 8th, 2024 letter, which got entered into the record. But that's a concern of mine as well. I think that easement as it exists right now, it's owned by,
Castle.
yeah, Unison Site Management. It's recorded under instrument number 2006-10066. So there's a recorded easement right now that runs from Route 88 past the Beach House Restaurant, I believe, right, Chris? It crosses the little stream there where there's a culvert, and then it continues up the hill on the rear of the Beach House Restaurant, the rear of their banquet room building that's there, and it continues all the way up the hill. It's a gravel drive once you get beyond the parking area for the beach house.
So,
And the problem that I foresee is that Chris's group is intending to utilize the easement as it exists right now across the beach house property till they reach their property line, which borders on the rear of the Beach House Restaurant. And then from there, on their own property, they're planning to vacate that easement so that they can proceed with their housing plan. So you basically have three parties involved. You have the owner of the beach house restaurant, who the easement type is, or use is basically gonna change. The characteristics of that easement are gonna change. It's gonna be for emergency access. It's no longer gonna be for utility. So they're involved as the first party. The second party involved is Crown Castle, Unison Site Management, who owns that easement across Kevin Braun's property right now, from Santi's property all the way up to the top of the hill where the tower is at the top. And then you have Kevin Braun, who wants to basically repurpose that easement for the one portion and then extinguish the easement for the other portion. So where I'm going with this is I think that there needs to be some formal agreement between all of these parties involved that clearly delineates the purpose of that easement on both of the existing parcels that it currently exists on right now. And we've brought that up a couple times during our review. Bankston's brought that up a couple times, and that I know that's something that'll need to get worked out yet, but I don't believe that it's worked out as we sit here right now.
So there's an easement from Route 88.
Do you use the drawing, Chris? Might be helpful to use. Go ahead, Ben.
You have the drawing here?
What you're saying is, as of now, the emergency access that's on the plan does not have an easement to come through the Listani property.
They have one, yes, they do.
All right, so, okay, I'm concerned, like, the board is, Mr. Spears raised, you know, Mr. Snyder raised issues about emergency access. Where's that on that map over there?
It's actually right, kind of comes off the page down to there. My understanding is Mr. Braun's worked out an agreement between the parties. I have not seen it yet, so I can't speak for certain if it's there or
The
not.
easement that I had saw stated for construction purposes only. So as far as after it's constructed, you don't know, but
I don't.
the easement to come.
So we don't, so there's a supposed agreement which we don't have.
That's my understanding. And I wasn't sure if he provided it to the township or not, but it sounds like he did not.
So I'm assuming he would have provided it to you to get the TJ, but you don't have it. So I, you know, and when you assume, you know, the old saying, make an ASS out of you and me. All right, so what, TJ, do you have anything about this agreement? Do you have a better map that shows all this?
I think so, I'm trying to find it.
I at one time saw an easement from Joseph and the Listani that was for construction purposes. But it didn't say after that, like for emergency access, permanent.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure, because I know there was some communication with the attorney that was working out the easements on Water Long and some other issues with the township and different people, so I wasn't sure if that was provided directly to you guys from them, so, but it did not come through our office that there is.
I don't have it, so, TJ, because I know if I would have get it out, received it, I would have sent it to TJ and the township.
Do you have the subdivision drawing printed, Chris?
I do not.
You don't have anything here for TJ?
I'm looking.
So, right now, the concern is about an agreement between Ron and whoever else. Ron is BRA.
So Deborah and Joseph Lisanti, what's the name? Lisanti.
Need a break?
You know your drawings better than I do. This one might be the best one we have.
Hey, guys, keep one at a time, please.
Yeah, we're on the
All right,
pause.
we'll take, here's what we'll do. We'll take a short break. You guys figure out what you need. Somebody have to go to the restroom and all?